This presentation is about Southwick Roman Villa and its surroundings. This Google Earth image shows the distribution of Roman villas in Sussex. Southwick Villa is located in Sussex at the junction of Southwick Street and Manor Hall Road. The site is now occupied by a Methodist church. Notice the location of Roman Crescent in relation to the site. This is a street view of the villa site today. A wider view taken from the corner. An information board is provided outside the church. If you are passing, it's worth having a read. The modern villa site seen from above. Manor Hall Road along here and Southwick Street running north to south. This image is a recreation drawing of Southwick Roman Villa based upon the foundations excavated in the 1930s. The ground plan and scale are correct, and anything above ground is based on other Roman building examples. The villa was listed as a scheduled monument in 1947. Southwick Roman Villa was built around 75 AD, sitting in a perfect position on the fertile Sussex coastal plain, a grand structure which reflected Mediterranean rather than local styles. Following discovery in the 19th century, it was extensively excavated during the 1930s, when its importance was first appreciated. Built with 4 wings set around an inward-facing courtyard, which historians believe contained an ornamental garden. Artifacts found during archaeological digs indicate a richly decorated property. It had mosaics of glass and gold, painted wall plaster, suites of baths, and large fashionable dining and living rooms. Small outbuildings have also been found in the surrounding area, which probably housed those who worked on the estate. Numerous servants or slaves would have lived and worked on the land to support the rich owners of the buildings and surrounding fields. Southwick Street and Manor Hall Road have been added for location reference. The villa is not aligned to the modern Southwick Street, which runs roughly north-south. The orientation does align with Roman Crescent, but it's impossible to say if that was intentional. The villa does not appear on the 1780 Yeakel and Gardner map, but notice that Roman Crescent is the only local road at this time, and the villa is aligned with it. This shows the building layout. There is some archaeological evidence to suggest that a second entrance existed on the south side. Another aerial view of the villa. The next, which was a drawing by Anthony Beeson. The next slide will show the inside view of the east-facing bathhouse. During excavation in the 1930s, the bath was found to be 9 feet deep. Clearly the occupants were wealthy people occupying a lavish building in a large estate. Some excavation reports identify this room as a dining area. Others mark it as reception. During the long period of use, over hundreds of years, it may be that these rooms served many different purposes. Mr. Samuel E. Winbolt first visited the villa site in 1925, when he was able to dig out a length of flint wall, which he found to be 1 foot 3 inches below the surface. He then applied to the site owner for permission to excavate, but was refused. However, in 1930, the site was sold, and with the prospect of it being built over, Mr. C.O. Ward and Mr. Salmon, led by Mr. Winbolt, began excavation on March the 9th, 1931. Mr. Winbolt expressed the view that originally a creek existed in the vicinity, and that vessels ran up that arm of the sea and shipped corn, sheep, woolen stuff, etc. for export abroad. He also emphasized its commanding position by reason of the manner in which all roads converged upon it. It was the most complete foundation of a Roman building of its type which had been unearthed for 100 miles around, and he expressed the earnest hope that it would never be permitted to be covered up again, but that means would be found to keep it open for the benefit of posterity. They would have to go a very long way before they found the layout of another Roman villa so clearly and fully defined. Mr. Winbolt said he was also hoping to get someone to offer a photograph of the site taken from an aeroplane, which would afford an excellent opportunity for people to study the ground plan of the structure. This note was written during the 1930s excavation, long before Fishbourne Roman Palace was discovered. Winbolt's idea provides an explanation for the lack of evidence of an east-west Roman road. Notice the little footbridges across the stream. A close scrutiny of this painting makes no sense when compared to the photos. This is an aerial photo from the 1930s, while the excavation was in progress. Sadly, Manor Hall Road had already cut through the southern part of the villa. The site has been investigated multiple times from 1815 to 1981. Unfortunately, the method of recording artifacts and their stratification has been very poor. Therefore, the records are far from complete. The best record we have was produced by Samuel E. Winbolt during his 1931 excavation. This is a 1937 aerial photo. By now, the site would have been picked clean of artifacts and anything useful or of value. This 1873 map shows the Southwick Brook that runs from the spring in Old Shoreham Road down through the green to the sea. Notice the two fields, Upper Brook Gate and Lower Brook Gate, to the east of the brook. Also, The brewhouse field suggests a possible flow of water to the east of the brook towards the villa. If the villa water supply did come from the spring that fed Southwick Brook, then it most likely took a direct route to the villa, as that would allow a gravity-fed system to be used. So what we're showing here is the possible course of a water supply to the villa, deriving from the spring on the Old Shoreham Road. The light blue line shows the route and the elevation profile for the line, and it shows that gravity feed would indeed be possible. The villa foundation as an overlay. Notice that it does not respect the orientation of Southwick Street. It's important to realise that the villa was the central feature of a very large estate. What we see here is merely the main accommodation or living area for the local land-owning elite. These are foundation walls to the west of the church hall. They become visible during a dry period. The footings become visible on Google Earth, or did in 2007, inside the red ellipse. A once splendid Roman villa became a home for brambles. At this time, 1953, the site was owned by the Sussex Archaeological Trust, who, for whatever reason, had chosen to simply leave it as a derelict eyesore while they negotiated the sale of the land to property developers. Notice that bungalows 63 and 65 are not aligned with the other bungalows, but are aligned to the villa. This alignment is very odd, but there is a possible explanation. This 1875 map provides an explanation for the curious alignment. Bungalow 65 was constructed within the boundary of the corner house and was aligned with the south wall, which is aligned to Roman Crescent. Roman Crescent being up here. Bungalow 63 is also aligned to the same wall, but number 61 is aligned to Southwick Street. The implication here is that the south wall of the corner house should date from early 19th century. For comparison, this slide shows Bignor Roman Villa overlaid in the same location at the same scale. You can see they are very similar in size. Now with Southwick Villa for comparison. The Bignor drawing shows many more outbuildings, but Southwick may have been similarly large. Now Southwick Villa with Fishbourne Roman Palace overlaid for comparison. Notice that Fishbourne is accurately aligned north, south, east, west but Southwick appears to be aligned with what we now call Roman Crescent, although that may be coincidental. So, now we have some photos from the 1930s excavations. This is an amazing photo. It's looking due north from the villa site. Clearly an uninterrupted view, devoid of houses. Very different from today's view. In this one, we see the Windmill Inn on the Old Shoreham Road, peeping from behind the trees on the Old Shoreham Road. An 1873 map shows a clear view to the Windmill Inn on Old Shoreham Road. This is another view. This time the photographer is standing a little further to the north. This is the Sussex Daily News, 31st of March 1931. Brighton and Hove Archaeological Society and Worthing Archaeological Society helping with the excavation at Southwick Villa. Today we wonder where the gold and glass tesserae and other artifacts disappeared to. Perhaps this photo provides a clue. This is also 1931. It's no surprise that hardly any interesting artifacts from the villa are available to see today. This is the view to the northwest. The house is still standing there today. The bathrooms in the northwest corner are described in this extract from New Discoveries at the Southwick Roman Villa by Richard Ward. In the autumn of 1933, trial holes were dug at the northwest corner of the villa through the chalk yard, which had always been an unsatisfactory feature. As a result, this was found to be of comparatively modern construction, and in excavating deeper, solid flint and mortar walls were unearthed, with the result that by the spring of 1934 a complete set of baths had been brought to light. These had a stoke hole at the north, but the furnace arch had been robbed of its tiles, and all the pillars of pile supporting the floors were missing. The archaeology is buried quite deep. The houses seen here are still in place. The left-hand image is the view to the north. The right-hand image is the view to the west. And this one is the view to the east. And finally, the view to the south. Samuel Wimbolt in the trench taking measurements. These are the pile pillars for a heated room. This one has a traction engine in the background. It is announced that the Roman villa at Southwick has been given to the Sussex Archaeological Trust with the objective of ensuring its preservation. The villa is one of a chain of Romano-British buildings, probably farms, on a 4-mile belt of fertile land south of the Downs. The others being at Kingston, Portslade, West Blatchington and Brighton. The site has been excavated by Mr. S. E. Winbolt and others with the aid of the Sussex Archaeological Society. It was found to consist of a rectangular block of buildings, enclosing a courtyard approximately 200 feet by 130 feet. The chief rooms are on the north side, where they are protected from the wind by the downs, while verandas on the sunny side face the sea. The buildings are solidly constructed with walls 2 foot and 3 foot thick, and consist of rubble cores faced with flint. The site is at present unfenced, but as soon as funds have been raised, the northern portion containing the main buildings, which unfortunately is separated from the southern by the new road, will be fenced and reconditioned to enable the public to be admitted at a small fee. The trust to which the site has been handed over was formed in connection with the Sussex Archaeological Society for the preservation of the ancient monuments of Sussex, and already holds in trust Lewes Castle, Wilmington Priory, the Long Manor Wilmington, the Marley Pins at Shoreham, and Old Land Mill at Kemah. Regrettably, in 1953 to 54, the Sussex Archaeological Trust sold the land which the villa occupied to a local property developer, and this was subsequently purchased and built upon in 1965 by the Southwick Methodist Church. In 1953, the villa site had already been listed for 6 years, but that made no difference to its destruction. Now the area is full of houses and the villa remains are entirely destroyed. So how large was the estate that surrounded the villa? Using the similarly sized villa at Bignor as an example, we can estimate the farm to have covered an area of approximately 2,000 acres. So what does that look like? "2,000 acres would have taken in a large number of the Celtic fields surrounding the villa. This image is representative of the possible area. We have no evidence to show the true perimeter. Clearly it could have extended east-west or to the north as shown. The Roman field system to the north of Southwick Villa. The estates of Southwick and West Blatchington do appear to be divided by a north-south boundary. This image depicting the late Iron Age and Roman fields was produced using an overlay from the National Trust Changing Chalk project. A test pit excavation of the northwest corner of the playing field was carried out in 2008 by Giles Standing. Down here. This is the 2008 excavation plan. Looking at Area A, it is now known that it was in the garden of this property that an angle of a flint and mortar wall was found. Finds associated with this structure, as reported by ward included pottery, mainly of the late 1st to early 2nd century AD. 2 silver-plated coins in good condition, denarii of Titus AD 80 to 81 and Domitian AD 82, and other finds including wattle and daub fragments and painted wall plaster. Further excavation south of the southwest corner of Manor Hall Road in Area B revealed an angle of a flint and mortar wall with pottery mostly from the late 1st to early 2nd century AD and 2 silver-plated coins of circa AD 80. Near the same location, loose flints were found around 1938 during excavation or roadworks in the middle of Southwick Street, interpreted as evidence of the outbuildings of the villa extending in this direction. These interventions were undertaken close to the main villa site and do not appear to have extended as far south or southeast of the villa as the 2008 excavation. Now focusing on the test pit excavation by Giles Standing in 2008. The test pit in the school playing field in 2008. This confirms the presence of archaeology in the field, but is insufficiently exposed to reach any conclusion. A geophysical survey of the school playing field may produce some interesting results. A limited resistivity survey has already been done, but a GPR and MAG survey may reveal a lot more. Sadly, Sussex has lost at least 2 important Roman buildings for no good reason. These are the Temple on Lancing Down and the Villa at Southwick. A reminder of how much of the villa has been destroyed and how little now remains. I'd like to give special thanks to Trish Freeman for her assistance in compiling this presentation.